Hello guys, it's Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to do a handover video on this Sunliving Lido S42SL. I'll just double check that. Yeah, S42SL. So, Sunliving, made by Adria, and we are based on the Fiat Ducato chassis. 2017 vehicle, and I'll show you under the bonnet first. So on these newer chassis, you've got essentially all of your sort of refillable reservoirs over on the left-hand side and sort of battery bits and pieces on the right. So I'll run you through these. So right in the corner, we've got the washer fluid there that you can easily get to. We've then got the power steering fluid, engine coolant, and brake fluid. To get to these two reservoirs just here, you have got this little cover that you need to take off with these little twisty caps. Fiat 249 is the white paint code for the cab and the back end of the vehicle. So if you ever needed any touch-up paints, it's 249 Fiat is the white colour that you'll need. The engine oil gets topped up through this cap just here at the top of the engine, and the engine oil dipstick is the red topped one just there at the front. Don't worry about that noise, by the way, it's just the door opening for the office. So chassis plate, we've got two different chassis plates here. You need to look at the one on the right which says Adria on it. The first one, the original sort of Fiat one, is still kind of valid, but if the weight has been changed whatsoever in the build process, which looks like it might have a little bit, then it would have been updated for this one just here. So this is the one that you need to look at if you ever need to actually get any official numbers from that. So because the engine battery sits under the floor in the cab, if I just point out roughly where it is, we've got underneath this little cover here, we've got a plastic cover which covers up the engine battery from walking around in the cab. So if you need to jump start the van, you've got down here, this little prong of metal here is a positive terminal for the engine battery. So you've got a positive terminal there and a negative terminal up here on this little piece here, which has got a sticker that says only for jump start. So positive down there, negative here, and that will then allow you to jump start the vehicle. So if you were jump start of another vehicle, that's sort of your points for it there. Air filter sits inside this box just here on the right hand side, and I think that is about it really for under the bonnet. So the actual vehicle itself is in absolutely lovely condition. You can probably see there just how shiny this paint is. I know we're inside, but only tends to get better when you take them outside as well. So inside the passenger door, we've got the bonnet release handle just here inside the door. We've then got the jack and wheel brace kit underneath this passenger seat, and the swivel seat handle just here at the front. So both of these front seats are swiveling seats. And once you've got them both swiveled around, it kind of makes it up into a really nice big lounge area here in the front. Diesel filling point just here behind this cover on the near side, behind the passenger door. We've then got your hookup point just here. So if you did have access to any hookup cables, plugging that in makes a huge difference and allows you to keep the batteries completely topped up all the time, and also allows you to use any of your 240 volt appliances that you might have inside the vehicle. Fresh water filling point just here as well, which will mean that the fresh tank will sit underneath these seats just here in the van. All right, so that's your fresh water filling point just there. To unlock that, because at the moment it's just spinning round and I can't take it out, to unlock it, you pop this little circular key in, twist it whichever way it will go and take it out. I can then take the actual cover out. Next door to that, we've got the toilet cassette locker. So the toilet cassette is a Thetford toilet cassette, and these are super easy to use. So you've got a freshwater flush on this one, which is this blue pipe on the right hand side. And so all you need to know really is that you lift up on the little yellow or orange handle there at the front, and you'll then be able to take the actual cassette out. Once you've got to that point there, you can then take the entire cassette out if you want to empty it out. You empty it out from this little orange valve at the front, and you've got a little orange button at the back, which you should hold down whilst you're emptying it out. Once you've emptied it out, a little bit of blue fluid goes back in there, and then you push it all the way home until this orange handle drops down again. Easy as that. So next locker along, we've got the gas locker. So this will look very different when you collect the vehicle. I believe the purchaser of this particular vehicle has got gas flow bottles, or one gas flow bottle to fit in here. So just yesterday I fitted the filler hose, so that's down here nice and neatly in the side skirt, and as you can see there, got the filling point just there. The cable, or the filling hose itself, I could have come up through the dropout hole down here, but I didn't really want to do that because I was a bit worried that the casing might get scratched up and broken. So I have drilled a hole down here and filled it in around the hose itself, but that now comes up here and is ready to go on to the bottle. So yeah, this will look entirely different, but the same sort of idea stands, where to turn the bottles on, regardless of what bottle you've got really, anti-clockwise to go off, sorry, ignore me, anti-clockwise to go on, and clockwise round to the right to turn it off. So you have to turn these bottles off before you start driving. It's really important that you do that. But yeah, otherwise that's about it. Absolutely massive, great big garage at the back of the vehicle here, with doors on either side of the vehicle to give you access to those. Inside, you've got access to the massive storage compartment that you can also get to from inside the van. You can get into it from the back here as well. And the only other bit that I want to show you in the back just here, I'll just get down to show you, is that you've got this little point just here. So this is your boiler drain off point. So you've got a nice new style boiler in here, obviously because it's a nice, 2017 vehicle. But the boiler drain in this particular one is an automatic boiler drain, and so at the moment it is in its closed off position, so any water that goes into it will stay in it. And I know that because this little blue button down here is pressed in. If I twisted this piece at the top here, this blue button would pop out, and all of the water inside the boiler, all 10 litres, would drain straight out onto the floor. So if you come to the boiler one day and think, you've put the pump on and you can't get any water to come through the tap on the hot side, come through to the garage here and make sure that this little blue button is pushed in. If it's not pushed in and it's pushed out, all you need to do is twist this little knob at the top back to where it is now and push the button back in. That's then basically the drain off closed. But yeah, that's it. That's your boiler drain. So if I just jump out there now. But as I say, the actual locker itself, absolutely massive. So yeah, loads of storage in there. Right, so at the back of the vehicle, we've got the 2-bike rack. And I think that's about it really for the back of the van. The offside is a little bit more exciting, so I can show you a few bits on here. So we have fitted the full length awning. Again, I just did that yesterday, so that's, brand new on there. I have wound it out, and I also made sure that it didn't go over and block up the rear facing marker light. So, if you're behind the vehicle, you can still see that marker light there. There's 3 brackets as part of the awning. The front one here, I've managed to get it behind the control panel. So that is behind this piece of wood just here. So that's hidden completely. The other two, there's one in this cupboard up here with the cover on it, and one at the back just there. So I tried to keep them as neat as I possibly could so it didn't sort of stand out. But that is the awning on there. You can see the awning light on there as well. So if you are underneath the awning with it wound out, you can have a light on down there so you can see what you're doing. You've got these two vents just here on the off side. These are both to do with your fridge. So if you do have the fridge lit up on gas, you can sometimes feel warm air coming out through this top right hand side. If you can't, don't worry, it's just because it's a slightly different vent. And I think that's about it for the sort of lockers and things. The only other thing I'm going to point out to you briefly is, I'm just going to jump up this ladder. So also yesterday fitted the solar panel up here. So got the little gland just there, which is actually where the cable goes in. I've also managed to get that behind the control panel, but I will show you how it's all wired up when we get inside, because there is a controller that you sort of need to know about. But that's the solar panel up there, as you can see. The rest of the roof will be cleaned off before it's picked up. So I think that's about it for the outside. I'm just going to run you through the cab, and then I will show you through the back end of the vehicle. So the cab itself on this particular vehicle is really, really high spec. So you've got the cruise control stalk on the left hand side, 6-speed manual gearbox. Reverse is lift up on the back, over and up to the top right hand side to select reverse. You've then got a single DIN Kenwood head unit. You could replace that if you wanted to for a double DIN size, so full size here. This little piece at the bottom looks like it just pulls out. Air conditioning from this switch just here below that, and obviously all of your heater controls there. Hot and cold, twist the whole thing around. You've got your fan settings, so where the actual air goes to, fan speed, and either recirculate or draw air in from outside. You've got a couple of USB points just down there and a 12-volt socket. Hazard warning lights from the middle. You've also got the electric adjusting mirrors, so if you want to select a mirror to move around, you then move this around like a joystick to adjust the mirror. So there you go. That's the cab, really. Right, so first things first, I will just run you through the solar controller. Now, you don't have to do anything with this. I just wanted to run you through sort of what it does, basically. So essentially what we've got is two wires coming through here on the left hand side. These are the two from the actual solar panel itself. So these are the PV wires. We've then got battery 1 and battery 2. All right, so basically this is what you call a duo controller, which is basically the solar panel comes in and then it charges up two different batteries. So battery 1 is the leisure battery. So this pair of wires here goes straight down underneath this seat just here below us, where the leisure battery is, and it's just basically wired straight onto that with a fuse. And battery 2 is the engine battery. So this goes over here, down under the floor, around here, and with a fuse straight onto the engine battery. So as I say, you don't have to do anything with this, but as soon as you drive this outside, the battery is, or both batteries are going to be being charged up from the leisure. So that's what that is just there. You don't, again, you haven't got to press any buttons on that. Just leave it as it is. If it starts flashing red at you on either of these, it means that the batteries are a little bit low. But yeah, that's it really. Okay, so the actual main control panel is just up here above the habitation door. Couldn't be any simpler to use, or more simple, don't know the right English there. So you've got a main on and off switch just here. This is all sort of touch screen as well, so if you just touch it there, it comes on and off really nicely. The light above that is if you're hooked up on the mains, you should have a little light come on here to tell you that it's working. You've then got the water pump switch from the top there. So you've got what's called a submersible pump in this van. So all that means is that when you turn the pump switch on there, the pump will not run until you start trying to draw the water through a tap. So in each tap in this vehicle, including the toilet and the shower and the sink in the bathroom and this one, you've got what's called a micro switch inside each tap. All right, so the micro switch, essentially, as soon as you open that tap up, the micro switch tells the pump to run, and the pump will not turn on until it's told to run by a tap. So if you just listen, you hear a little clicky noise. So that little clicky noise there is the micro switch telling the pump to turn on. So if we pour the water through like that, good pressure on the cold side, round to the hot, good pressure on the hot side as well, and we'll switch it off. So doing that, that's all you have to do to prove to yourself that the boiler is full of water. And once you've done that, you can go ahead, use the hot water and the heating exactly as you want to. But it is really important that you do that. Just make sure that you've got pressure on hot and cold. And once you've done that, you know, you don't have to worry about the boiler overheating or anything like that. And, you know, it's simple as that. So if the boiler wasn't full, you would draw the water through on the hot side and you wouldn't get anything coming out through the tap. You know, you might just get a bit of air coming through. So all you have to do in that situation, if that does happen, is just allow that air to come through until it stops coming through and the water starts coming through nicely. And then you can go ahead and use it like normal. So that's the pump switch. The only other two buttons on this entire control panel is you've got basically your battery and your water levels. So if I press and hold on this button at the top, what it's telling us is the water level on the right and the battery level on the left. So before I show you, I know that the leisure battery is a little bit low at the moment because, first off, we're inside, so we've got no solar power going down to the solar panel, and we're not hooked up onto the mains. So we've got absolutely nothing charging up the leisure battery, and I got all the lights on and things like that. So that's why the leisure battery says it's a little bit low. So pressing and holding on the top one here will show us the leisure battery voltage on the left-hand side and the fresh water level on the right. So we've got about 11 volts in the leisure battery and half of the tank of fresh water. When I press and hold on the bottom one, it's showing us the vehicle battery voltage and the wastewater level. So you've got empty waste tank and low power on the engine battery. So really, the vehicle needs a good drive and to be hooked up for a little while. That's all that means. Once you've done that, you know, it's good to go again, really. That's all there is to it. So yeah, that's how you view your levels on here. What I'll do actually, after I've done the video, I will hook it up for, you know, a couple of hours so that it gets a good charge in it. But yeah, it's pretty normal stuff, really. To the left of the control panel, we've got this little circle bit. You might be tempted to push on that. Please don't, because that is not a switch. These are the thermostat for your boiler. The only reason I say please don't press on it too hard is because they are very brittle. And the majority of these, I must admit, are broken because people press on them and they break. It's not the end of the world if it does break, because the actual thermostat itself is behind that cover. But it just makes it look a little bit ugly, so try not to do that. That's the thermostat for the boiler, and the boiler controls are just here to the right of the control panel. So this particular boiler is a Truma Combi, and that is the thing that I showed you in the cupboard over there. This is a gas-only system on this one. All right, so a lot of the Continental vehicles, whether it be German or Spanish or Italian or whatever, tend to make everything just sort of gas-only, especially the boilers. So if you want to use the heating, we go down once on here to this little symbol here, and that's heating only. And what will happen is the boiler will light up and start pumping hot air through to any of these little circle vents that are dotted around. If you want heating and hot water at the same time, we go down to the bottom, and that is both heating and hot water at 60 degrees for the hot water. All right, back to the middle, turns the boiler off completely. If you go up one or up two, that's hot water only. So no heating, just hot water, and it's either at 40 or 60 degrees. And there you go, that's how you use the boiler. So because it's a gas blown air heater, if you're sort of trying to use the heating and you're wondering why it's not coming through just yet, it does always take a good sort of 3 or 4 minutes to actually start pumping through hot. Same goes for the water. The water is not going to be hot straight away. It will take a good half an hour or so. But yeah, that's it. So that's all the stuff up there above the door. So inside the wardrobe just here, we've got the trip switches down here for the mains. So if you are plugged into the mains but you can't get anything to work, that's where you want to have a little look there for that. Just close this, lock the door down as well. So the 3-burner hob at the top here. So very simple how it works. You will need an igniter or a long reach lighter or something like that to use these, because they haven't got their own ignition on them. So they've all got a thermocouple on them. A thermocouple is this little piece of metal just here, and what it does is it basically senses the flame. So if you imagine, the last thing that we want is for gas to be able to be pumping through right now as I've turned that dial. So if that was happening, we would just be filling the van up with gas. So what a thermocouple does is it realizes, all 3 of these thermocouples know at the moment that there's no gas flame there. All right, so it shouldn't be on. So that's why it will not allow any gas to come through like that until I actually physically light it up whilst I push down on it, and then it will allow it to come through and stay on until I switch it off. So that's how a thermocouple works. It's basically just a flame, some people call them a flame failure device. So if, for example, if we had lit any of these up and I blew out the flame, or the wind blew out the flame, whatever, what will happen is the flame failure device or the thermocouple will notice that that flame has gone out, and it will then stop the gas from pumping through. So all of those have to be checked as part of the habitation check, and they are all absolutely fine. And in fact, every single gas appliance in this whole vehicle, including the fridge, the boiler, they all have a thermocouple on them, and they're all working. So the fridge is a Dometic fridge, and this is what you would call a 3-way fridge. So it works 3 different ways. You've got mains electric, you've got gas, and you've got 12 volt. So if I just quickly explain, you've got these first 2 here, mains and gas. These are the only 2 ways that this fridge is going to get cold by itself. Okay, if you try and use 12 volt here, all that's really for is for keeping the temperature inside the fridge that you've already got. All right, and the reason that is basically you've got 2 elements on the back of the fridge. You've got a 240 volt element and you've got a 12 volt element. The 12 volt element is only good and it's only able to keep the temperature that you've already put inside the fridge. It is not powerful enough to cool the fridge down. The 12 volt is only for when your engine's running as well. All right, so that's for when you're driving, basically. And as I say, that's just to hold the temperature you've already got whilst you're driving. And when you get to wherever you're going, you want to switch back to one of these 2. So for the time being, I haven't got the hookup plugged in. I have got the gas switched on. So what I'm going to have to do is turn the fridge on and select gas. There you go. Probably heard that on the video. So what happened there was the igniter started going, the gas valve opened up, and it ignited and lit up, basically. So that's all you have to do to get it to light up on gas. If we were plugged in on the mains, I would recommend having it switched on the mains. But as I say, those 2 there are the only ones that will cool the fridge down. Switch over to 12 volt before you drive off, and switch back to one of these 2 once you stopped. You've got temperature on the right hand side, so you can gauge that, as and when, and a manual reset for the fridge on the right. So you don't need to do anything with that really, unless you get a problem. So that's how the fridge works. Nice and easy. Okay. Close this over. In case you didn't know, these little covers here have got a little slot that they need to go into in here so it doesn't fall out when you close this lid down. You've got a 240 volt socket just down here underneath the sink. And if I have a little look down here, I would imagine, there you go, gas isolators. So we've got the 3-burner hob, the fridge, and the boiler. So these are the 3 gas appliances in the vehicle. And so if you did want to isolate any of those, turn them 90 degrees and it'll isolate the gas from that specific appliance. Okay, so as I said, you've got the water tank down here underneath this seat. I should imagine the freshwater drain will be down here around the tank or in the tank in this particular case. What I'm just going to show you briefly is just down here underneath this seat. So what we've got down here is your leisure battery and your power supply unit. So that's your EBL box. So it is I can't quite see the sign for it, EBL 208S. So Electroblock is who make those ones there. So that is basically where all the power goes to in the vehicle. So all 12 volt power and all of your mains power. And essentially what it does is it diverts all the power as and where it needs to. So it sends this, it sends power to the control panel, it will send power to everywhere. So that is just basically what controls where all of your 240 volt and 12 volt power goes to in the vehicle. That is all underneath that seat there. So I think the last bit I need to show you is going to be the bathroom. The bathroom itself, you've got a light at the top just here. The shower and the sink, I very rarely actually show you those because they're normally just exactly the same as the, they're literally just hot and cold left and right. And these two are exactly that. The toilet itself is the only bit that I tend to actually run through because sometimes people haven't used these Thetford toilet before. So all you've got really is a blue button at the top, which will pump through your flush fluid, which is just fresh water in this case. And you've got a handle at the front, a grey handle. Push that to the right, and that drains out into the cassette. You then have to pull this back like that for 2 reasons really. If you don't pull that back, obviously you've just got a straight hole straight down into the toilet cassette, which will make a bad smell. And if you don't pull it back, you won't be able to take the cassette out from outside because it'll be locked in place. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's about it. Obviously the layout in this particular vehicle is absolutely lovely. You've got the choice of either 2 single beds here if you leave it like this, or you can pull this towards you in the middle and make a slightly bigger, almost like a double bed here as well. That does come over a bit further as well, like so. Loads and loads of paperwork for the vehicle in this brown folder here. There's it all in there, all the original documents for the appliances and things, all in there. So yeah, so I think I've pretty much covered everything. If there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you'd like going over, just let us know. But otherwise, look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.